Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and yes, the official world map for Warhammer the Old World has just been updated. This is post that little issue they had a few days ago, and we see that the Northern Chaos Waste has been added in, quite largely in fact, alongside the addition of a bunch of heraldry towards Tilea, Estalia, the Border Princes a little bit, and we can see that there's some pirate ships. There's quite a lot to talk about. We really need to have a proper deep dive, so without further ado, let's begin. Before anything, a big thank you to our sponsor, Instant Gaming, for sponsoring this video. Instant Gaming is a platform where you'll be able to buy a bunch of games at discounted prices, even upon release. Gaming is getting very expensive nowadays, even for myself, as I'm spending a lot of money on Warhammer the Old World. So if you want to pick up a brand new PC game, PlayStation game, Xbox, they also do that too, you can get it for discounted price, or something that you've been looking for a while. For example, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which releases soon, and you can get it for 30% off. And not only that, but we do have a giveaway going on. Win the game of your choice. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below and sign up. You don't even have to make a purchase. That is pretty much running on until the end of this month. We've been doing every month, which has been quite nice. You can win whatever you want. Some people have picked up Darktide, some Wukong. It's quite nice. I really do appreciate working with a company that I myself use their services of. With that being said, thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video, and let's return to our regularly scheduled programming. So we're going to start off with the Northern Chaos Waste, and there's a few clickable ones, but the reason why this is important is because originally it was stated that it was going to focus firmly on the Old World, and obviously Cathay at that point, because they are relevant to the whole Great War against Chaos, but now we're seeing something quite far up north. We're seeing the break, which kind of bleeds in the world into the realm of chaos. There are a lot of clickable stuff like the Wrathgate and just a few things. My main thing is obviously we're seeing the distinction of tribes, the Dolgum, the Cool. The Cool are going to be the big one because obviously Asavar comes from that tribe. We are likely going to start seeing some hints regarding him soon. So I wouldn't say that this is going to lead into like the end times troops, so some people might be thinking, oh, you know, the Scaramore and so on, they're from these locations. I don't think that they're going to come back, but it's more of the case of like now we have a proper map of this. It's a nice comparison to that or the map in Total War Warhammer 3, where some things have actually been moved around. But yeah, it's great to see, like, now we're starting to see chaos markers. Obviously, some are colored very differently. Right now, there's a focus on Undivided. It's something that Games Workshop have been kind of pushing towards, but some coloring does suspect there that you might see a little bit of Tzeentch influence, a little bit of Khorne, and this is stuff that I guess, you know, makes a lot of sense. There have been rumors that we are going to see some marked characters in the future. A little bit of major speculation here, but we've got the nation of the Hobgoblin Khans. Remember back then it was used to be just hobgoblins, right? Like even the old world maps would just say Hobgoblin Khanate. So this is pretty interesting that they've got a different name. Obviously a lot of people have been kind of hoping for a small arcane journal focused around the hobgoblins. There are some old school metal miniatures, and really all they need to do is maybe 1 or 2 new minis and there you go. Oh, I mean a full plastic refresh would be lovely because it's a skirmish faction. You've got the Wolf Riders, you've got some character models. Hey, it's just interesting to see a name change here. Now, this was renamed before. It's actually been on the map prior, but it's interesting to note because obviously the Hobgoblin Khanate was still referenced in the KISLEV map, so I just wanted to point it out here. That happened after the Cathay map release, so something has clearly changed. The name is there for a reason. It would be nice to see. Maybe it's just Door-Ajar situation, but hey, you know, one can hope. I love hobgoblins. I have a lot of hobgoblins. I'm currently in a bidding war trying to get my hands on some Hobgoblin Wolf Riders because I want to use them in a Kelsdorf list too. So it'd be nice not to pay eBay prices anymore. You know, that's the main thing. Another interesting point here is in part of KISLEV. This is Northern KISLEV that hasn't been mapped out fully yet, but we do see the mention of UNGOLS. So this is where the UNGOL people are from. Remember that there's multiple cultures in KISLEV that eventually all get pushed into KISLEV proper as we know it from Warhammer Fantasy or Total War. So it's nice to see that there. I'm hoping that means that we're going to see some UNGOL units in the old world, as unfortunately we didn't see them in Warhammer 3. It's a bit disappointing. Maybe they were wiped out at that point, or maybe just plans have changed, but it's nice to see them being referenced proper. A Cathay dragon ship can be found between the coast of Norske, the Wasteland, and Kuron. This is pretty interesting because obviously we have seen the Cathay interest coming up a little bit, especially since they kind of hinted that Cathay is going to be the next major core faction. That's obviously going to be quite a big one. Interesting that they went for a dragon ship. Who knows what characters we'll see. We at this point know about 5 dragon children that are active. We don't know if any of them that are missing during the period of the Total War franchise, they might be up and running too, so we might see this. I don't think that this pushes towards Yin Yin, because Yin Yin's coloring was kind of hinted to be blue because of the whole water dragon aspect. Fire dragon is Li Dao with the fire, but it could just be generic coloring. Either way, I think a lot of us are quite excited for Cathay. I wonder how this is going to be a bit of a worry of mine, and some like speculation here is that the Cathay roster might be very, very large, so we might see it in multiple waves. Not in the sense of like we've had for Old World, where it's just wave 1 and we've just had wave 2 for the Empire, but rather multiple books in the style of what's happened with the Lumineth Realm Lords in Age of Sigmar. I do imagine that they're going to want to get that money from China as much, so they're going to make it a very big roster. I'm not against it. I would just like to see as many miniatures out as possible, rather than what's happened to the Lumineth Realm Lords, where they had 2 waves, both of them quite far apart, and then the 3rd wave is still missing. I don't want a missing wave for Grand Cathay, as I do imagine that it will sell quite heavily. What I would say is we have seen High Elven heraldry before next to a High Elf ship, so it could be possible that we would see one of the dragons, or prior to seeing one of the dragons, someone being sent over to Marienburg, as we've seen in the lore before through Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, as a emissary, which is where we'll see the beginning of Cathay. Could be possible, could be very, very possible. Remember that we have also seen a little bit of Cathay mapped out for the Old World, so hey, this is just speculation at this point. No clickable locations for Norske when it comes to the Norse dwarfs, but it does feel like their logos are a bit more pronounced. Before it was just pretty much just Norse dwarfs, right? So hey, it's possible. There were some old school ideas there. There's one thing that a lot of people might not be aware of, especially if you're kind of new to the tabletop. Games Workshop actually have a lot of ideas kind of put away into a vault. There's loads of stuff that never actually got made. One thing that was kind of planned for 3rd edition or 4th edition, I think, was a little box between Nippon and the Hobgoblins that was for Gremaine Davis's work, but it just never came into fruition. So it could be possible that we could see a specialized arcane journal for the Norse Dwarfs, introducing 1 or 2 new units, and that's it, or more kit bashes, as that's something that they seem to favor. We do know that multiple arcane journals are likely to happen for each race, so hey, this is kind of cool. Right, this is the big one. The Dogs of War locations have been added in. This is something that came into a map update recently, and then unfortunately was taken off because, I don't know, something broke. But there's quite a lot of important things to talk about here. The first thing is obviously Estalia. This is the one that everyone's kind of confused about because there's no clickable locations, but there is a lot of new heraldry. There has obviously been rumors that we are going to see a Dogs of War book, and even some fainter rumors that we might eventually see a proper stylized army for Estalia and Tilea. So they're probably kind of leaving the door ajar there. Estalia itself kind of looks the same as we've always kind of known. Obviously, Cubicle 7's book has been adding to it, and that's kind of centered around here. It's pretty cool, though. I mean, we're seeing a lot of different heraldry, very pretty heraldry at that. Unfortunately, you can't really go too far in. I do wish that the map was a little bit better in terms of quality, that you could actually zoom in dramatically. But yeah, it looks like we've got quite a lot of cutoffs there. The same thing, right now we got the Blighted Marshes alongside that, where Skaven Blight is, but Skaven Blight cannot be found until, well, Games Workshop acknowledged the Skaven in Old World. And then obviously we look towards Tilea, where a few things are coming in. Obviously there's some very famous places like Rifrafa, Lucini, Remas, some new heraldry coming in. This is quite exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dogs of War stuff is coming sooner, maybe even before Cathay, if we do get something Dogs of War related, because there is a lot of heraldry, and usually when they start adding in heraldry for that, it's because a faction is coming. We do have to take note that there is a big pirate ship in between there. Now, that might be map additions, that kind of like Cathay, or it could just be hinting at the possibility of a Sartosan journal, or maybe the Dogs of War stuff does have a Sartosan list. Now, it's very important here that you might remember during Warhammer Fest 2 years ago, they did state that there was no plans or no current plans for Dogs of War, just as they stated no plans for Cathay very recently. But the fact is that, yes, there are plans, there's just no public plans. That's something that people don't seem to realize, that Games Workshop are always going to say, hey, look, there's no current plans for this. It's just, they do have those plans. They just don't want to tell people about it, because it would have hurt sales for Old World if they would have gone, yes, we do have plans for Cathay and KISLEV or Dogs of War or whatever, because there's a lot of people who are far more interested in Cathay or KISLEV, and they might not end up buying any boxes here. There is people who buy multiple armies. I can't use myself as an example because obviously I'm doing battle reports and so on, but yeah, there's people with multiple forces. If they knew that Cathay was coming next year, for example, or 2 years down the line, we don't really know, they would then not buy anything and start saving up for that. They want to make as many sales as possible. This is a retail thing. It won't be long until we see another map update, that's for sure, because look at this area. There is a very, very noticeable hard cutoff, and that's something that is going to lead into Cathay, because keep in mind that this is the Mountains of Morn to the left, so this is where Miao Yin usually hangs out, and Zhao Ming a little bit down. I think there's a little bit of the Warpstone Desert over there, but yeah, unless the map has changed, but I don't think it's changed that much. It does look like there is a lot coming, so this is quite exciting. I'm very, very excited. You can see that the mountains actually are very different in terms of stylize. The color is a bit deeper, so yeah, no, this is pretty cool. This is very, very cool. As far as I'm aware, there's no other major updates for the map other than what we've been able to discuss. You know, Albion's a little bit there, but I think that was there already for a bit. It might have not been it, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a bunch of additions, like more clickable stuff for the dwarfs, but that's kind of expected, and you can go in there in your own time to just explore, because the map is awesome. There's no clickable stuff for the Estalian region or for Tilea, as far as I'm aware. I've been going for it like a hawk, but it does lead to question a bunch of stuff. Obviously, releases seem to be going faster. They have already done the second wave straight after the first wave of the Empire. The High Elves got announced. It looks like it's going to be coming out faster. I wouldn't be surprised if the Beastmen and the Wood Elves are out maybe by June, maybe even sooner, depending on when the High Elves come out. But it does look like there's a lot to come here. This does mean that maybe we could see Cathay early on, or it's going to be the Dogs of War book that has been rumored for a while. I could see the Dogs of War coming first. I mainly think it's because, well, those models have been done for a while. If they just do all the metal ones that were available back in the day since 5th edition, and that people have been using all the way until the end of 8th, those models aged well, to be honest. I've been looking at my pikemen going, hey, you know, these aren't too bad. So I was hoping that that's the case. Preferably it would be a plastic refresh, because metal is a bit of a annoyance to work with, having just recently started sorting out a bunch of Slayers, and those are super easy to paint. You know, there's not a lot of paint on that, but yeah, you never know, you never know. I feel like things are getting better. Obviously, we do know that Old World is selling a fair amount. I don't know how it's going in the United States, but around Europe it seems to be fairly popular. A bunch of shops around my area seem to be doing very, very well, where boxes are being sold out super, super quick, which is actually quite frustrating. Because sometimes I just like to browse shops, but it looks like there's just a demand for it, which is really, really nice. This means that we're going to get a lot of support, and yeah, like they said in the Warhammer Fest Q&A 2 years ago, more support means more new stuff. This is great to see. I'm pretty surprised that Cathay is getting hinted so soon. I was expecting it at the kind of tail end of 1st edition, you know, to launch a brand new army. That's what they kind of do for 40k and stuff. But hey, you know, maybe the models have been done for a while. Remember that Old World was announced in 2019, so it's very, well, actually 2018, I think. So it's been a while, and there's probably been a lot of production work done, and then delays happened and stuff. I still very much subscribe to the theory that they delayed the Old World's release because of all the shit shows that were happening with Warhammer 3, because they wanted peak interest, and that meant that they would be able to get a lot more coming out, and then during that point, they decided, look, we can't wait any longer, because it was during the Shadows of Change stuff, and released it anyway. But yeah, it was peak, because, you know, people were happy at that point. People were expecting 2.0 and Thrones of Decay, and that would have hyped up. I know I've seen a lot of people from Total War start buying the miniatures, so it's a big thing there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below to start a bit of discussion. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.